Big Sills, and Merry Christmas. This will be the last show before we all celebrate Christmas. And I want to wish each and every single one of you a great Christmas Eve. I hope everything starts your new year. We'll talk more as we get into next week about great stories for 2023, a year ender. We'll do some of that stuff. We really appreciate you guys this year. And I hope you guys all have a fantastic holiday. Where Slay left you hanging, I don't care. Comes on, he comes on. Dude, you have me wrong. I didn't ask him to come on. I said, if you want to, you can. He said, I'll have to try to come on. That ain't me. I don't give a shit if he comes on or he doesn't. That's not how I do my show. I'm not a slave to organizations. If you come on, you do. If you don't, you don't. I don't care. I don't. I did this with the Buccaneers. They didn't want to put players on. I never needed them. Just like Angelo. He never needed Eagle guys. That's not how I do my shows. And I'm not going to start that off this way. I am going to start it off with this. Giants and Eagles. Really, we'll talk about the game here in a second. And, I don't really know how to break this thing down. There's really not much to look at it here. And we'll look more at it here in a second. But here's one issue I would say to you guys as you get ready for this Giants game on Christmas Day. I would make this going into this game, I would ask you this. Would you bet your house that you're going to beat the Giants? Would you bet your house? Would you bet your house you're going to win the game? Would you bet the house that you're going to win this game? Would you? Would you bet the house? Here, I'm going to make this point to you guys, and I'll say this point to you guys here. Tone, I've heard you, and I've heard everyone. I've heard every radio station. I've heard every show on our network. I've read the Inquirer, and people keep saying it's talent. You know what it can't be? It can't be a lack of talent on defense. And you know what else it can't be? It can't be a lack of talent in coaching and think you can combine that. You can't have that at the same time. You've got to come up with a scheme against your weakness in this Giants game. What's your weakness? Your pass defense. You've got to come up with a way to entice them for you to be able to compensate for your weakness. You just can't go out there with a scheme and think you're going to line up and beat NFL players when, quite frankly, get this, you're not good enough. When the Eagle people do this, and the Eagles and their fans say this, well, we're better on offense than the Giants are on defense. Okay, well, your defense is not as good as the Giant offense. Your football team on defense has been the worst unit in the last month and a half in the league. So anytime you look at a football team, you can't come from the premise, well, we did it 4 months ago. You just can't. You're not good enough to, hey, you're not good enough to say that. So you've got to come up with a scheme that helps your weakness. I give Dan Quinn a lot of credit here. And let me give Dan Quinn a lot of credit here for something here that I really admire. Dan Quinn knows his defense can't stop the run, right? So you know what he does? He entices football teams he entices football teams to go away from their weakness. Okay? That's what he does. He entices people to go away from their weakness. And I find that to be genius. That's what Matt Patricia. I got to tell you something else about Matt Patricia. I like him in front of a microphone. I really do. I like him in front of a microphone. I think he does a really great job in front of a microphone. I thought he won that press conference. I thought he was sincere. I liked him. I did. I'm listening to the interview and I was like this. Okay. I bought into what he was saying. By the way, I love the fact that he's reaching out to Darius Slay, and Darius Slay and him are working hand in hand to try to help the defensive backs. I believe that. Okay? I do. I believe that. That's a good sign. Guys, I got to tell you, man, I'm going to say it one more time to you. Let this thing play out. Hey, do me a favor, guys. I'm going to give you the greatest example of what you guys, I know I'm sounding positive here. I'm going to get to it here in a minute. And there's some other things that we're going to get to that may be not so positive. But I do want to ask you this. What was the year and what was the record of that Giant team that beat that 19-0 Patriots team? What was that year that they were undefeated? And weren't the Giants 9-7 that year? Weren't the Giants 9-7? Shooter, they were 9-7 and they beat a 19-0. I thought, LJ, I thought they were 10-6. Okay? It was 07. Okay, so they were 10-6. I thought they were 9-7 too, but most are saying 10-6. Okay. So a 10-6 football team, 9-7 football team beat a 19-0 New England Patriots team. What does that tell you? Any given Sunday, no matter what your record is, that should always be ingrained. Just because the Cowboys and Niners blow you out a couple weeks ago, does that necessarily mean they're going to blow you out in January? Absolutely not. You know, one of the greatest things I always bring up about Muhammad Ali, and the thing I love the most about Muhammad Ali, every guy he lost to, early in his career, he went back and fought and beat. Every guy he lost to. I'm not talking about, all the way up to Spinks. Every person he lost to, he went back and he beat him. That's what I'm talking about here. Okay? So hang in there till January. I know I'm sounding positive here. Okay? I mean, I'm sounding positive. You know, I was listening to Dick Vermeil this morning on WIP, and I heard him say, how many teams have lost 3-game losing streaks and have come back to have really great years and win Super Bowls? Or have had losing streaks inside of a particular year? A ton. My question doesn't come down really, well, it does to the players on defense because you just don't have, again, I told you, and remember what I said to you, I predicted at the beginning of this year, the reason that you will not win a Super Bowl is because of your coaching. It wasn't really because of the players. You don't have good enough coaches. Here, would you guys agree, Tone, would you guys agree, everyone, with this statement? You guys don't have good enough coaches to coach bad players. I'm going to give you an example of that. Look at what Zach Taylor's doing in Cincinnati with Jake Browning. Look at what Kevin Stefanski's doing in Cleveland with Joe Flacco and a cast of others. The guy up in Kevin O'Donnell, the guy up in Minnesota, has his team still contending. How about last night, Sean McVay coaching a football team that shouldn't even be on the planet, but now they look pretty good. I don't know if they'll ever come out of the NFC, but they're playing really good football. That's a well-coached football team. I'm more worried about the offense and the dumb explosive play obsession. It's destroying Hurts. Absolutely. Absolutely. I heard that thing too. And I was listening to Curran with Sports Take. What is their obsession? Tom Brady was never obsessed with big explosion plays. What are you doing? Think about that. The greatest quarterback of all time was not an explosive play quarterback. And he won 6 Super Bowls. Excuse me, 7. Went to 10 with non-explosive plays. What the hell, man? What is your obsession with that? That's poor coaching. You do not, once again, you do not have good enough coaching to coach bad players. You do not. And it's collided. You know, I was watching the Rams and how well coached they are last night, and I'm like, man, you imagine Sean McVay with that Philadelphia Eagle personnel? He'd be undefeated. How about this? Can you imagine Mike Tomlin with that personnel? He'd be undefeated. Let me tell you the coaches that would be undefeated with that personnel, even with the shitty defense. You think Mike Tomlin, a defensive-minded guy, wouldn't right the ship on defense in Philadelphia? You think he wouldn't right the ship? They'd be undefeated with Mike Tomlin. They'd be undefeated with Sean McVay. They'd be undefeated with Kyle Shanahan. They'd be undefeated with those type of coach. That guy in Cincinnati is the most underrated coach in the league today with what he's doing without Joe Burrow. Shit, Kevin Stefanski, that guy's quite a coach. Sills, what's the key ingredient to coaching bad players? Easy. It's a great question, Anthony. It's a great question. Putting those players in positions of their strength, not weakness. You know, I heard Tone ask a question. What's the mentality on first down versus third down when it came to a player's mentality, how he looks at that? And why is it so that there's a different mentality on third down? Every player has a skill set. Maybe a better run stopper and not a good third down guy. Maybe a better fit guy. That's why teams are lining up against the Eagles. They're not going to run the ball on you. They're going to beat you on first and third down. Second down, if they get yardage on second down, the Eagles will never get off the field. Don't you see how the Eagles are being beat defensively? They're being beat on first down and third down. That's why all year long you've been in third and short. And the Eagles have been in third and long. Why? Because they're so consumed with this obsession to have big play and explosive plays. Last year, the Eagles were tremendous on third and short, and they were great in the secondary because they got home. This year, you're losing first down and third down on both sides of the ball. And this is why you're in a rocky part of your journey towards potentially Las Vegas. Okay? Think of what they're doing right now. Really, I'll tell you what. Maybe I'm being more encouraged here today because I was encouraged when I was listening to Matt Patricia today, or yesterday it was. I liked what I heard from him. I did. I liked what I heard from Matt Patricia. I thought he was honest. You know, there was a conversation I thought I was reading on NBC Sports Philadelphia where him and Slay had a come-to-Jesus conversation. Both guys apologized for each other. Hey, man, the business of the NFL sucks. It's a cold business. Nobody cares sometimes. There's too many people that are involved. And sometimes things are said or things are not said or communicated that you go back and you find out, hey, guess what? It was just poor communication on the way out the door or the way in the door. It's sometimes a conversation can really end that, and you know where a person's coming from. I liked it. I thought he was honest. I'll tell you this. Matt Patricia might be the only honest guy in that coaching staff right now. Okay, I mean it. But here's the thing. So Matt Patricia, the one flaw he has, why are you putting Bradbury in man coverage? Dude, I know you're a man coverage DC, but the Eagles don't have man coverage corners. That means to me that Matt doesn't really know the personnel that he has, and he doesn't know where to put him in. I mean, that was a fundamental flaw coaching-wise. That's not knowing your personnel. That's a fundamental flaw on not understanding what you have. Okay? I mean, man, you don't have a cornerback on that roster right now because of Roseman that can play man coverage. You just don't. Okay, let's get into the game. Giants come to Lincoln Financial on Sunday. I really don't know what to say here. I mean, the Giants are 24th in defense. They're 28th versus the run. They're 19th versus the pass. What are we talking about here? I mean, really, what else? What do you want me to say? This isn't. My question is the organization ready for this game on Christmas Day? I'll tell you this, man. The Giants are playing with house money. They're going to do everything they possibly can to win that football game because they want to wreck the opportunity for the Eagles to win the East. They want to do everything. It's a division opponent. And they're going to do everything they can to make sure you don't get home field advantage. This is their Super Bowl. I'm going to tell you something else about the Giant guys on Christmas Day. Tommy DeVito is playing for a chance to stay on that roster for the next 5 years. Brian Daboll and the entire front office, Schoen and them guys, are looking for ball players that are going to show up. And how would you like to have this? Some guys are going to be fighting for playoff spots this weekend. Some guys are going to be fighting for their jobs. What guys are you more scared of? Guys fighting for their jobs or guys fighting for their playoffs? To me, the guys fighting for their jobs, those are frightening guys because they'll do anything necessary to win. Patricia's voice doesn't match his looks. What are you, a talent actor guy? Come on, maniac. Who gives a shit? Right? Dude, run the ball. But I'm going to make a point to you. And I heard Kerr say this, and he's right. Swift is not he's not as powerful a running back as Miles Sanders is. He's right. And you've not upgraded your run game. You've upgraded your pass game with him. He's having a great year. You're never going to re-sign him. He's going to be a big-time guy in the open market. He's going to have like 50 some odd catches, 1,000 yards rushing probably. He's going to have a ton of people that are going to be wanting to pay him a boatload of money. Why? Because he's a cheap man's version of Christian McCaffrey. That's what he looks like. He's a cheap man's version of McCaffrey. He's just not as good as Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey is going to have 2,000 total yards over it and 22 touchdowns. You know we're in that room. I mean, you're just nowhere in that conversation when you're talking about somebody like that. He is the best back in the sport, and you know why he's the highest paid running back now. So again, I mean, what other things is there to say here? This is really going to come down to whether or not the organization is ready. 31-20. By the way, you don't have the advantage in coaching in this game. I don't believe or trust your coaches. Okay? You know, and Matt says that he's carrying Flop Turdy. He's going to win the Most Valuable Player award. Hey, Marshall Faulk carried Kurt Warner. He did. Mike March has told me numerous times, and so has Dick Vermeil, the entire offense went through Marshall Faulk. When they had the greatest show on turf, it didn't go through Warner. It went through Faulk. Marshall Faulk was the centerpiece. Okay? He was the centerpiece of that greatest show on turf. This guy here, man, is that 49er team is spectacular. So again, you guys agree with me? I'm not sure what to say here. This is really not a game that should be close, but it will be. We know that, right? Because I started the program out by asking you one thing. What was that? Would you bet your house that you're winning? If you guys are saying that, the players are saying the same thing. The organization wobbled itself. You know, it's one thing. It's one thing to be beaten. It's another thing to, once you're beaten, show panic. And I think the organization has shown panic. And now get what you're hearing now. You're hearing whispers that Jalen Hurts is not assertive enough as a leader. And I've been telling you that for the last month and a half. Now you're starting to hear that. I think it's unfair. You can have quiet leaders. Derek Jeter wasn't a rah-rah guy. And again, you don't have to be in front of a microphone to be a leader. Just because you're good at a microphone and you say quirky things or good things, that doesn't make you a leader. Okay? That doesn't. You can lead in different ways. Your performance. But see, here's the thing with Hurts. When Hurts' performance is not playing well, he doesn't say enough. And then he walked back to comment. It's not that I lost respect for him. I thought his point lost value. Does that make sense? I'm not there with that, with lack of leadership and all that shit. I'm nowhere near that. I'm nowhere near that. However, if you're going to make a point, you double down on it. You don't walk away from it. Hey, we need to be more committed. And if you guys, you know what I would have said? If I was Jalen Hurts the other day and somebody asked me to clarify, I would have said, that's not for me to clarify. Why are you asking me to clarify my comment? That's for you guys to make and then assess the comment and dissect it any way you want. I don't have to clarify my comment. We need to be more committed. You know what we means? That means all of us. Why are you asking the man who made the comment to have to clarify something when it's up to you whether you want to go with what he said at the moment? I don't have to tell you what I meant. That's up to you how you heard it. That's the problem we have here in today's society. People have to clarify their positions in life. Why? I don't have to clarify shit to you. If you want to read a comment one way and another guy reads it another way, that's not my problem. We means the team, coaches. See, the coaches probably got panty bunched and they probably got their panties in a bind because the coaches didn't want to be put in that conversation. And they wanted to clarify that they weren't talking about the coaches, not the players. They don't mind shitting on the players. But they don't want to shit on the coaches because they're a reflection of management. That is so lame. Okay, I don't have to justify my statement. Hey, we didn't play well. There's some people here that aren't committed. We got to practice better. What do I need to clarify that on? Who are you talking about? Dude, that's for you to figure out. Well, don't you want to clarify it? No. I would have doubled down on it. No. Starts with me. And he said that even at the... Did he not say that after the game too? Did he not not say that after the game. I heard the comment. I listened to it. He first started with him, and then he said, we got to be more committed. And I was like, okay, good, finally. Then they made him walk it back. And I'm like, dude, really? Why? I mean, hey, Shooter goes, I'd like to see big sales in a front office environment. Hey, you know what I would do? I'd make sure I hired the people that I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. I wouldn't be pretending that I knew what the hell I was talking about when it came to personnel and thinking that I had to have my foot in everything. You know what a great executive is? You know what a great executive is when it comes to football? Putting people in position on shit you don't know. That's what makes you a great coach. Hiring qualified people around you and letting them do their jobs and not having your hand over them so they can only do their jobs 50% of the time. That's what Howie does. Dude, let those guys go do their jobs. Let the coaches coach. I'll give you a fundamental way, and I'll give you an example of this, Shooter. This is how Jimmy ran the organization. You know, Coach Johnson never called a play ever that I've ever been around him. My 4 years in college with him and my 2 years with the Cowboys. That's 6 years I was around him. I never heard him call an offensive play in my entire life. I never actually heard him do anything but control timeouts and 2-minute warning going into the half and at the end of ball games. Other than that, I never heard him do shit. All of his assistants, that's why his assistant coaches went to Dallas with him, where they would end up winning 3 Super Bowls. I never heard him do that. Jimmy was responsible for recruiting, personnel in the NFL, and hiring coaches. Other than that, he didn't want anybody. Nobody told Jimmy Johnson who to hire. Jimmy had a guy in Bob Ackles that was the guy who picked the phone up and made calls on what he wanted to do. He had personnel people. He liked Gil Brandt a little, but Gil retired after that, the former personnel guy with the Cowboys. But he was in charge of all that. And you know what they would do? They'd have their Monday morning meeting. And they would sit there and they would go like this. When something didn't work, Jimmy would get on his coaches. Why didn't that work? Do we have the right guy? Do I need to get another guy? Why isn't that working? He would look at it. He was hard on his assistant coaches. Do you know when he brought all of his assistant coaches to Dallas? He made them the lowest paid assistant coaches in the NFL because you know what? He wanted them hungry. 5 years later, they won 3 Super Bowls. And they were all the highest paid position coaches in the league. And they would all go on to be NFL head coaches, all the coordinators. Turner, Butch Davis, Dave Wannstedt, and Dave Campo. All of them would go on to become head football coaches. Not that they were great, but that's what he did. Okay? I mean, it's when you got people involved in everyone's job, you're getting in the way. If that game is, how about this? This is what I'll be looking for on Monday. Okay? This is what I'll be looking for on Monday. If that game's close, they got problems still. If they handily beat the shit, can I tell you this? I made it. What was the score? I said 31-20. Personally, I think that's a 30-7 game. How can you beat the Dolphins and the Cowboys and the Chiefs and the Bills and the Rams and all those teams and look like shit now? What's happened? What's happened? Let's do this. Ask yourself that question. What's happened? What's happened? 11-4? You'd be the worst 11-4 team in the league. You're playing more like a 7-6 team. What's happened? What has happened to the Eagles? Ask yourself. Predictable offense, that's coaching. What's happened? The poor coaching has caught up, not the players. Coaching is too predictable. Look at LJ. They're tired. So is everyone in the league. Everyone's tired. Man the fuck up. Man the fuck up. Tired. The hell you think this is? Baseball? Man up. I'll tell you one thing. That team ain't as deep as you thought it was. Look at your edge rushers. They're falling to pieces. Dude, you're going to really give somebody... Hey, let me ask you something here, my friends. A lot of people in here, obviously, the majority of the people in here are from Philly. Are you tired when you get up every Friday and you got to put your ass in a car to go to work and you got to put your snowshoes on and you got to go out there and you got to scrape your window and you got to go to work and you got to go on top of a roof and you've got to tar that roof, or you've got to go up and you've got to shingle a house, or you got to put gutters on a roof? Aren't you tired too? The fuck is that? What are you talking about? You got to shovel your driveway just to get out of work? Just to get to work, you got to shovel your driveway? You got to put 70 layers of clothes on to show up to work? Are you tired? Aren't you tired? You do it though, don't you? Because that's who you are. We live in such a soft-ass mentality society that people will throw an excuse like that out. You know what used to be back in the day? Commitment, loyalty, responsibility. Now it's entitlement and what's owed to me. Those fundamental mentalities reside today in the NFL. You got to have commitment. You've got to have desire. You've got to have respect. That, hey, get this. Can I tell you one of the things that I love the most about going and playing in the NFL? I'm going to show you something, man. I put this helmet like this under my arm. My first game against the Chicago Bears when I went into the supplemental draft. By the way, Reggie White's a supplemental draft guy. I put this here like this. And I think my aunt was there. And I looked up those from MacDill Air Force Base, those fighters flew over. I started crying going, what am I doing here? 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 Thank you, God. What a privilege it is to play in the league. It's a privilege. Commitment. Okay? LJ, probably so. But it depends what happens this week with the Ravens and the Niners. I think the Ravens and the Niner game is going to dictate what the Eagles do. Am I right when I say this? Help me out, guys. If the 49ers beat the Ravens and the Eagles beat the Giants, even the home field advantage is then over, right? Now, how about this? No, because they'll have one more loss. But see, wait a minute now, LJ. If the 49ers lose to the Ravens, they're then 10-5. Okay? You'll be one game up on them for a potentially home field advantage. You would have to play that Giant game. Because if you are even, am I right, Tone? If you're even at the end of the year, the tiebreaker would go to San Francisco with the same record because of head-to-head. They beat you. So if they finish the season 12-5 with you 12-5, you'd win your division, but you wouldn't win home field because the tiebreaker would be that they beat you head-to-head. Isn't that correct? Because the first tiebreaker is head-to-head. Okay, so I think you're going to have to play that final. Now, I think you're going to have to play the final 3 games. I don't think you're going to be able to have a layup. Okay, I don't think you're going to be able to. Now, the Niners would have to lose 2. Okay, and here you still got the Cowboys, and believe it or not, you still got the Lions hanging around. You still got the Lions out there too. So I think you're going to have to play all 3. The conference-leading 49ers have the chance to clinch the number 1 seed in home field advantage in their marquee matchup against the Ravens on Monday night. But they will need help. A win plus losses by the Lions, Eagles, Cowboys would do the trick for them. Oh, the Cowboys could lose to the Dolphins. And the Ravens could clearly lose to the Niners. Hey, by the way, just that Ravens game, that Ravens game, am I right? Tone, that Ravens game, it's in Santa Clara, right? That Ravens game is in Santa Clara. Okay, it's an advantage. You guys got get this. You guys got everything in front of you. Okay? Get this. Hey, you know what's funny, Henry? Those are my Super Bowl predictions. Cowboys and Bills. All right. This might be a topic. That's some record for Lamar. This might be a topic you may not like. By the way, our friend Tone's going to join us at 3:30, Philly 500 at 4:30, and the greatness of Philly Godfather to send you into your holiday weekend will join us at 5:30. If the Philadelphia Eagles don't make it to the NFC title game, do you move on from Nick Sirianni in the offseason? Wow. 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 Doesn't matter. Anthony, every coach you fired had a winning record. See, Anthony's under some sort of guise that the Eagles don't fire coaches with winning records. Overall, every coach that Jeffrey Lurie has had since 2000 had an overall winning record in Philly. They're not adverse to not firing guys with winning records. You're under some sort of illusion that those guys would only fire guys with poor records. Not one of those coaches had poor records. That's not true. If he leaves, another coach is going to be a yes man. We have a cheerleader for a head coach. You do. If Tomlin is available, we get him. I'll talk about what the new rumor is about Mike Tomlin. You all think Dallas will lose to Miami? Dolphins Miami is not a physical team. Buffalo is 75 to 80 degrees. Sunday, gorgeous. Tyreek is doubtful. Okay? The only way Nick gets fired is if he puts together a losing season. Okay? Bring Frank in as OC. You guys, here, this is what I'm taking out of it. Some of you think it's possible. Here's what I think. I thought it was going to be 2 years. Let's addend this. Let's put an addendum on this. What if he gets bounced in the opening round of the wild card and Jalen looks terrible? And for LJ's sake, he'll be a losing record in the postseason of 2-3. Would you give him another year? Can you imagine that? Nick Sirianni should have been fired after 2-5. Nick Sirianni's always been 2-5 coach. Isn't it funny? How come these other coaches that I pointed out, like Zach Taylor and Kevin Stefanski, they lose their quarterback or they lose someone? They're fabulous coaches. Nick Sirianni loses Shane Steichen. He's horrible. Doesn't that tell you something? I mean, that can't be a coincidence. Kevin O'Donnell up in Minnesota loses his starting quarterback. Plays like 3 different guys. They're still playoff contending teams. Cleveland, Cincinnati, McVay's coaching job. Those guys don't fall apart. They don't do things to put their players in poor positions to win. Dude, I'll tell you what. And, hey, MG2, I didn't know shit about Zach Taylor. I didn't know who. I thought he was a former president of the United States from Virginia. I had no idea who this guy was. Dude, even Pete, right? Drew Lock beats the Eagles? You're kidding me. So you've lost this year to Drew Lock and Zach Wilson. I don't know. I mean, it's one thing to get beat, but you got beat by those guys? Hey, you know what's crazy about the Eagles? So you beat Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes and Dak and Tua, and you lose to Zach Wilson and you lose to Drew Lock. I don't know, man. That's a bit of a swing for me. LJ thinks that Zach Taylor isn't a good coach, and he took a team to the Super Bowl too, just like your boy did. And he's doing it with 3 different quarterbacks. Your record doesn't dictate how good you are. That's Dick Vermeil. Dick Vermeil's a 500 coach. He doesn't have the win percentage that your boy Sirianni has. He got in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Parcells, do you know Parcells has a worse win percentage than Tom Coughlin? He's in the Hall of Fame. Bill Parcells is a 500 coach. He's in the Hall of Fame. Okay, get this. LJ thinks that a record makes the coach. It's the championships that make the coach. Because if that was the case, Marty Schottenheimer would be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He's 6th all time, 206. He's got more wins than Chuck Noll. According to LJ, he's a better coach than Chuck Noll because he's got more wins. And he's got a better win, and he's got a better win percentage than Chuck Noll. Is that facts? According to LJ, Marty Schottenheimer's a better coach than Chuck Noll. You think a 4-14 coach in the postseason should be in the Hall of Fame? I don't. You're defined by championships, guy, not 1-loss records. Okay? Nobody, I think, Seth, I think the only guy that got $1 million, there were two of them during my time. I think it was, no, Reggie didn't get it because that's why he left Philly. I think it was LT because the New Jersey Generals were going to give him $1 million. And I think that the Giants gave him $1 million, if I'm not mistaken. Marty Schottenheimer's a great coach. Okay? Anyway, I don't care. Okay? Sirianni, hey, this is a huge moment for Sirianni Monday. And it's against an inferior team. This team's worse than Seattle. Is it? Are the Giants worse than Seattle? What are they, 5-9? Are they 5-9? This is a worse team than Seattle. I'll tell you this. If Nick Sirianni loses that game on Christmas Day, or you're kicking a game-winning field goal, that entire locker room will be lost. Now, do I expect that? No. Because why? You don't have Carson Wentz as your quarterback. But Jalen Hurts has to be more of a leader on Christmas Day. And I'm going to start hammering that more. You guys keep telling me he's this great leader. I want him to be angry leader. Okay? I want him to do it the right way. Be like Mahomes. Always start with him. He always starts with him. He defends his receivers. Oh, by the way, there's no doubt Eric Bieniemy is a thing in Kansas City. It's a thing. You know why? Why do you think Eric Bieniemy? You could see that there's a difference in Kansas City's approach. You know why? Because Eric Bieniemy's an asshole. And you know what assholes do? They coach you hard. Remember what they were saying about Eric Bieniemy in Washington? This dude just doesn't get off the gas pedal. Holy cow, man. This guy is in your face. He's got horrible bedside manner. This is why he's not a head coach. You know why? He doesn't pass the interview well. Well, he's my guy. I don't want you to be able to answer questions like Matt Patricia and Nick Sirianni because those are bullshit artists. I actually should take that back because I like Matt. I like Matt as a defensive coach. As a head coach, I don't believe it. What happened to the RPO? They want explosion plays. RPO is not explosion. How could Jalen Hurts early in the year be one of the better pocket passers and all of a sudden now they are so transfixed on plus 25 plays when that's not who that guy has ever been in his entire football career, whether it was high school, college, and in the pros, plus 25. What are they thinking? Okay? What are you thinking? This is a big moment for Nick. I think this is a gigantic moment for him. Huge moment. You got a football team that's not in your league. Okay? And you're playing a quarterback in Danny DeVito or Tommy DeVito. And I actually can't wait to watch the kid. I want to see what he's got. I haven't seen him play because I don't sit around too much waiting and watching guys who I think are having 15 minutes of fame. Okay? I think it's a kind of a cute story. I don't really think it's anything. I think you won't remember his name in 5 years. It'll be like that guy. Remember Magic Man up in Green Bay? It'll be some shit like that. Remember Don Mikowski? When he was up in Green Bay, there was like 10 seconds of fame. He was really great. All of a sudden, he fell off the planet. Nobody ever saw who he was again. Okay, so, I mean, I do believe that Patricia, is a believable guy. But my problem is, again, with his scheme. Okay, you put Bradbury in man coverage. Why? M says, Dan, how true? Winning cures all ills. Losing, on the other hand, brings all defects to surface. Should be on a chalkboard, what you just said. That's what's happened. And you know what? That's why guys like Tone, the guys on IP, the guys on The Fanatic are so shocked in a way that when you see it, all of a sudden you're like, holy cow. And when you're 10-1, and I get it, it's not a wrong take. But as a former player, I'm like, this is not what it is. It was an illusion. It's going to catch you. And then when the good team started pounding you, you were like, holy cow. Holy cow. There it is. And get this. This is as much as a cliff dive as the way Jalen's playing. You've got poor coaching right now and coaching bad players on the defensive side of the football. This mess needs to come to surface to be fixed. It's too late now. You can't fix that. You can't fix what's happened. What? You think, how can you, hey, you know what I hear people doing now? Now there's a lot of wishful thinking conversation going on. I think the offense is going to turn around. Why would you think that? Where are you going to, yeah, the offense is going to turn around with the Giants twice and the Cardinals. And then you're going to be back in that rouge of a conversation. Well, we're good because you're going to look at the record again and go, hey, and I don't blame you. And I don't blame you. You're going to be 27-7 in 2 years, but you're not good enough to win the Super Bowl. Don't you get where you are in your organization right now? You're good enough to win a lot of ball games, but you're not good enough to win the game. Is it that fact? 13 wins is 13 wins? Tell that to the Giants when they were 10-6 and they beat a 19-0 Patriots team. You think that mattered to them, Richard? That the Patriots were going for a historic undefeated 20-0 season? Did it matter to the Giants? And they had beaten the Giants in the final game of the season that year in the Meadowlands. They came back and they beat them. Do you think it mattered to a 10? That's the beautiful thing about the NFL. See, a guy like Richard looks at the record and thinks that you're a better team than someone else on any given Sunday in the NFL. Okay? Let me tell you about this Rams team I saw last night. The Rams aren't good enough to beat the Niners and Cowboys in consecutive weeks. But you know what they are good enough to beat? They are good enough to beat one of those teams on one Sunday. Because we see it play out all the time. I watched the Drew Lock Seahawks team beat you on a Monday night, and you had them in every single category on that game and in that game. You handed the game to them. Did you not? Outrushed them, first downs, third down conversions, everything. You had them in everything. Time of possession. You lost. And you had a better record. You were 10-3. What were they, 6-7? How does 6-7 beat 10-3? Because it's the league. And it's the NFL. See, the Rams, they can't do this in a wild card. They could beat the Cowboys. But they don't have enough talent on that roster to turn around and beat the Eagles in the next divisional game. Or the Niners. They're not good enough to string those games together. Now, the coaching's sensational. Personally, I think it's the best coach team in the NFL. I don't even know what they have outside of Aaron Donald. Hey, that Puka Nacua kid is unfreaking believable. Cooper Kupp's not Cooper Kupp yet. He will be next year. They get a couple more pieces. Sean McVay has to be rejuvenized. You get a couple more pieces next year in free agency. Matthew Stafford's playing like Matthew Stafford, even though his completion percentage has been down. Like in 14 games. What's the numbers? In 14 games this year? Dude, this guy is playing some really great football, man. He's killing it. Rams look good. Now, again, do I think they come out of the NFC? Are they in the room with San Francisco and Philly? No. But are they in the room with the Rams and the Cowboys? Or the Cowboys and the Lions? Probably. They're better coached. Okay? And so, hey, Richard goes, the Rams have been beat by shit teams. So have you. It happens. Dude, you're trying to put the talent of the Rams on what the Eagles have? I thought you had the best O-line in football. They don't. Rams will play Niners in week 2. I think they beat them. Kyle Shanahan has their number outside of one playoff game. I think the Rams could beat the Eagles. Having played them again, they got way better coaching. It's the best coach team in the league. By far. They don't really have anything on. Raheem Morris deserves, hey, I've posted a picture of my friend Raheem, and I really like him a lot. Raheem Morris he should be given an opportunity. He's got a Super Bowl ring, okay, as a defensive coordinator. But because he's black coaches don't get a second opportunity traditionally to get an opportunity like the white coaches do, like Matt Nagy and all these other losers. Dennis Allen. How does Dennis Allen get a job over Eric Bieniemy or Raheem Morris? Honestly, think about that. How's Dennis Allen the head coach of that Saints team? How did he get that job? How did he get that job? Because you're a white guy? Probably. I mean, where's Coach Caldwell? You think Brian Flores is going to get a head coaching job again? Shit. He's a quality coach. He turned that Dolphin thing around, man. Black coaches don't get second opportunities, usually. The Bucs did it for Todd Bowles. Look what Todd Bowles has done to the Bucs. That thing was a train wreck, mass unit. All of a sudden, what? Now they're leading the South. Okay? I mean, at the end of the day here, how's Raheem Morris not a candidate to become a head football coach again? And I've told you the story. Tone, I don't know if you ever heard this, but when I was covering the Buccaneers in Tampa, when I was on WDAE, by the way, I like how most of you think that I've been fired 100 billion times. I haven't. I've been fired 3 times in 29 years. And I was there 16 years at WDAE. 16 years. Worked for iHeart, Clear Channel, whatever. JAKIB Media. And I was sitting at the Super Bowl when the Super Bowl was in Tampa. When Raheem got the job after John Gruden, I put a piece of paper up like this, and I go, Raheem, you know what this is? And he looked at me and he goes, what? And I went like this. I said, that's your resume. What makes you qualified to be the head football coach of the Bucs? And he looked at me and he goes, I said, before you answer that, when you were walking into the Glazers and you were walking into the general manager's room, did you think you were getting fired? He goes, I did. And then they told you were the head coach. They offered you the job, right? He goes, yes. He goes, do you believe me? I said, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. Absolutely. Now, he was not ready for the job. He was too young. But he was in the Tony Dungy tree of life. when it came to coming up through the ranks. Mike Tomlin knew him very well. And now I think he's ready to be a head coach again. Okay? Okay? I think he does. I do. And I saw somebody here. Where'd he go, Bobby? Denny Green got fired because he didn't like the organizations that were talking shit to him, like Minnesota and Arizona. Denny Green's a great coach. Look at the coaches that were off his coaching tree. And Ray Rhodes, you're talking about coaches 25 years ago. You know, Jim Caldwell got fired for a winning record. You know, Lovie Smith got fired for a winning record. You know, Brian Flores got fired for a winning record. What coaches get fired for having winning records? All right. The things they have to do to beat the Giants on Christmas Day, we'll do that. Happy holidays to you guys. Our good friends at Hooters, man. It is Santa bonus bucks, $5 stocking stuffers. Do me a favor, make sure when you go into any one of the Northeast Hooters, from Rhode Island all the way down to Jersey, all the way through King of Prussia. By the way, we're going to be there on the 6th of January, so we look forward to you. Okay, absolutely. And the calendars are out. The 2024 calendars, there's $100 in gift cards inside the calendars. 9 girls are featured. HootersToGo.com is the great app. You can get the app and you can order the food, bring it to your house. If you want to do it on a Sunday watching football on Christmas Eve, great chance to do that. Also, too, great specials, lunch specials, Monday through Friday, 11:33 p.m. Boneless wings, also happy hours Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. 6 items, $6. Don't forget, kids eat for free on Saturdays, northeasthooters.com. That's northeasthooters.com. We will talk Giants and Eagles. Also, a lot of NFL news, some important games this weekend. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Eat chicken wings, buy Hooters things. Christmas is near, shop, have a beer. Christmas shopping shouldn't be hard. Give your friends a Hooters gift card.
This year, stuff their stockings and yours too with a one-size-fits-all gift card. Buy a $25 Hooters gift card and receive a $5 Santa's bonus card. Make it Hooters for the holidays.
Eat chicken wings, buy Hooters things. Christmas is near, gift cards are here. Good at Hooters everywhere now. Hooters gifts are always favored.